Jacob Eason set to take the reins under center. Many are expecting Indy to take a look at the market for a possible upgrade. Names like Jimmy Garoppolo, Gardner Minshew, even Wentz's former backup and Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. All right, LeVar Arrington, what should the Colts do to fill in for Carson Wentz?
It's a sticky one, guys. Like, this is like one of the worst possible scenarios that a team could have play out, because you're in that space where it's actually early enough to get somebody who can fill in the position well enough, but it's too late in coming out of the offseason and getting into the season to say we're going to get somebody in here that can actually help immediately. That's out there. So, I mean, if I'm being realistic and I'm being honest, I got to call Phillip Rivers.
Wow.
I got to call Phillip Rivers because he is the one I had success with. I got to hope and pray, cross my fingers, my toes, my toenails, pray to the football gods, lowercase g, and hope that he's in good enough condition, shape, mentally and physically to actually think about it and try to give it a go. Otherwise, I don't know. What, do you go to maybe it's Trubisky, I don't know. But do you go to, what was the quarterback, the backup, that Jacoby? Do you try to find what Jacoby's got going on? Like, what?
Right.
I just think that they're in a this is a compromising position. But with that being said, you got to know that Carson Wentz could come up injured. And you should have already had a plan in place for, if this doesn't go the way that we wanted it to go, what direction do we go in? So it's got to be the next man up. But if the next man up isn't good enough in your camp and in your ranks, and you're thinking to yourself, we're losing an opportunity by not having a quarterback that can lead us better than what we expected with Carson Wentz being the starter, I would say you got to give Phillip Rivers a call and see where he's at and what he's got going on.
Well, let me start by saying this. It can't be Nick Foles. All right, we have to put that to bed. All right, it cannot be Nick Foles. If the Indianapolis Colts want to get anything in the future out of Carson Wentz, then they cannot bring Nick Foles to that team. And I don't know that they have a bad relationship or anything.
He might jump,
but yeah, we were talking about this on our radio show last night, The Odd Couple, and one of the callers had a great analogy. He said that would be like having a guy work with the guy that cheated on his wife with him. You know, I mean, you cannot, there is no way this could work. All right, Nick Foles is the guy that took Carson Wentz's team, won a Super Bowl.
I
hate to put it this way because obviously Wentz was on that team, got a ring, but it pretty much, it derailed his career. Let's put it that way. And a lot of it was mental in his mind, and I get it. So they cannot bring Nick Foles. On top of that, Nick Foles has had chance after chance, opportunity after opportunity to be a starter, and he's proven that he's not. Nick Foles is the guy that you bring in when all the chips are down, when your back's against the wall, when nobody expects anything, right? When anything you give them positive is gravy. In those situations, Nick Foles can get it done. But when you expect something, you put the team and the franchise in his hands, he just doesn't get it done. So I don't think they should be considering Nick Foles. You mentioned Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, I would be talking to Miami about, you know, maybe do we bring him back? Marcus Mariota with the Raiders, do they try to trade for him? I think you got to hope that Carson Wentz can come back at some point, relatively early in this season, and that he can play. But I would give him this season. And if he comes back soon, and if he struggles or he can't stay healthy again, then you may just have to say, okay, we can't trust this guy. We got to look for a real quarterback for the future. But if not, if he play, I wouldn't give up on him this year. I'd let him have this season, assuming he can come back. And then, guys, let me throw this out, because the reports are that Trey Lance is looking dynamic in the 49ers.
I know what you're
we
about
know
to do.
that if that's the case, Jimmy G,
no,
Garoppolo will become, probably not soon, But next year, Garoppolo could be available. So you got to look at him. Maybe is Aaron Rodgers available? Ride it out with Wentz this year or Brissett, some backup. And then next season, you look for your quarterback of the future if Wentz struggles or gets hurt again.
I have
Aaron
to say,
Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, something like that.
It's not often that I'm totally surprised on this show. You know, we've been doing it, what, 2 to 3 years together now, guys? And I feel like I know them well. LeVar with probably one of the biggest shockers. I love the Phillip Rivers return take. Now, I think he's coaching high school football somewhere, so he may not exactly be in shape. I have a counter to that, and I would just say do nothing. Do not go and overpay for somebody when you're trying to make a trade from a position of weakness. Everybody knows that Chris Ballard needs a quarterback. So you're going to ask for the world. And Chris Ballard has drafted way too well. I was just looking at the Colts draft picks the last 3 or 4 years. He hits home runs every year in the draft. You do not want to give up a pick to rent a quarterback for, I don't know, 3 weeks. Have you guys looked at the early schedule? The Colts have the toughest September schedule in the NFL. 3 of their first 4 opponents were in the playoffs last year, okay? 3 of their first 5 games on the road back to back to back. So they're going to struggle out of the gate, whether it's Jacob Eason, Carson Wentz, or whatever quarterback you want to overpay for. I think Ballard's smart move is, hey, we drafted Jacob Eason in the 4th round last year. Let's see what the guy's got. We're going to throw him right into the fire. It's a tough schedule early. You got to face defenses like Baltimore. Yikes. But I think this is the move. You just stay put. And a quick final word on Carson Wentz, okay? At some point, LeVar, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, you know what? That Carson Wentz near MVP season, that was an outlier. That's not who the guy is. He's hurt every year. No, LeVar, he's had 5 years in the league. He's been healthy twice, okay? He's hurt every year, and he had one incredible year that he has not come close to duplicating. And if you dig into those numbers in that near MVP year, he was like nearly record-setting in the red zone and on 3rd down. And he has not come close to sniffing those numbers. It was a total outlier. I think it's safe to say Carson Wentz is an injury-prone quarterback who just had one fluky year, and I don't know what his future holds, and it's probably not a good thing.
Even if you came to that conclusion based off of what you've seen, that 1 year that he did have success is the guy that brought him into Indianapolis. That's for one. For two, Indianapolis is one of the most completely built teams in the National Football League. They are a studly group. They got a running attack. They have receivers. They have an offensive front. They have a great defense. You're not asking Carson Wentz to be a world beater in Indianapolis. You're actually putting him in a situation to have that same type of success he had the first go-around with Reich. So, to me, the reason why I said a Phillip Rivers, and it sounds outlandish, and it sounds outlandish to me as well, the reason why I can't be a Nick Foles, the reason why I can't be a Garoppolo, the reason why I can't be a legitimate, like, serious quarterback that can be your starting quarterback, and this is why it's such a difficult position for the Colts to be in, is because you don't want to destroy a situation that you have not even had the opportunity to see if it's going to work with Carson Wentz. This, to me, it ends it, right? It's a potential, it's a game ender. You know, he's going to jump. Like, it's not going to end well if you bring in a guy that Carson Wentz, before he even gets started, has to contend with. Now, it's not about him competing against a guy that they would bring in, a Garoppolo or a Mariota. It's not the competing part for Wentz. It's the reckoning. It's the reckoning part of it. Yeah, I pulled that from Tombstone. I like it. But sometimes it is the reckoning that plays the entirety of what the situation is. If you bring in a guy that looks to be possibly a permanent solution, then now the media is going to jump on that all year. Now the players are going to jump on that all year. You have now put Carson Wentz in the same situation that you just took him away from. I don't think that that's the right decision, whatever the decision is, which I think is more towards what you're saying, actually, J-Mac, and just not doing anything, using next man up mentality, bring that guy in. But here's the problem. You do have a competitive early part of your season. This is a longer season. You can say it's an advantage that you have a longer season because it gives Carson Wentz more of an opportunity to get healthy and come back and still impact the year. Or you look at it and you say, most conventional wisdom, you have to win the first 3 games out of 4. So it's like you break the season down into quarters. Now, with it being an extra game, I don't know how you want to do it. But you generally say first 4 games, we got to win 3 out.